There we go. Let's get Facebook in here, rocking and rolling. Got some spinning wheels going. Boom, boom. All right. Welcome in. Welcome in. It is Friday morning. So earlier and a different day than we normally have. And this is the new normal going forward. We're shaking things up. We're in the winning ways of the Broncos now, and they shouldn't change anything, but we are now that I'm out here in Denver, and the job started this week. And shout out to Eric once again for waking up at 4:30 a.m. To do the shows. Dylan too at 5:30, but I did that for years, so I don't have as much sympathy, I guess. But Eric, it's good to see you. I almost made the mistake on Wednesday. I hopped up and came over the computer, pulled up StreamYard, and I was like, "Oh, wait a second, no Wednesday shows. Gosh, it's going to take a second." I knew I had a show at 6:30, but it's Falcons. I don't have to. I just get to show up for that one. So, how are you doing? Good morning. We're gonna get you drinking coffee here before too long, man.
You very well may. I am tired this morning. I got to sleep about 2.5 hours ago, and it felt like 10 minutes later my alarm was going off to wake up and get in here. So I am very tired this morning. And I mean, I'm tired all the time anyways,
Yeah.
but I'm doing good. We went to the movies last night, saw Wicked for Good.
Was it good?
Um, it was good. I was unhappy with other people that were in the theater,
Oh,
but it was a good movie.
well,
Um, So that was a fun time. Took the wife, the kid, and my mom out to go see that one because they all
that's
love it,
awesome.
and so it was nice to just get out and have some time as a family, and then came home, tried to go to bed, and now I'm here.
I absolutely love going to the movie theaters. Like, I know it's something like COVID, it kind of died down a little bit, and you have all the streaming stuff, but like, it's one of my favorite things, especially the theaters that have like the big comfy chairs. And I will hound a thing of movie popcorn. I actually, when I was in like fourth grade, I had a gluttony moment, and I had so much popcorn that I threw up at home. I think it was Jurassic Park 2 that did it. That's the movie. And obviously I had some shame at the time, but I can't help myself. I have to be the person who puts the napkin over the popcorn like during the previews, because otherwise it's gone before the movie starts. I got no control when it comes to movie theater buttered popcorn. I will say I don't like to do it so much with my dad because he puts on so much salt it would make like a deer lick embarrassed on the top. But God, I love popcorn.
Not a popcorn fan,
Oh God, I
but
love it.
I mean, I'm with you. I love going to the movies. I don't like dealing with other people. And last night, I mean, we had a group of people in front of us where one of them saw the play on Broadway. So the whole time, the girl next to him was asking him if this is what happens in the play. Behind us, we had some kid or some parent that was smacking their lips the whole time. Another group of younger girls that were just sitting there chattering the whole time. It was very frustrating, and it's even more frustrating when my mom went out to talk to the manager of the theater that was on duty, and she says, "Oh, there's nothing we can do about it." That just made things even more frustrating, but we tried not to let it distract from the movie too much. But yeah, it was good. And not a popcorn person, but the one thing I love those cookie dough bites. I don't know if you ever had those. They're like little
I was gonna say
chocolate
it's a
dipped
movie.
cookie dough bites.
Okay.
Absolutely love them.
Okay. Well, you know what I love? Ernie May's coming in here saying hello, good morning, go Broncos country. Only hello, Nick and Eric. You can say only hello to Dylan, too, who's in the background, and Summit. He's been kind of a mainstay here. I'm curious once I move to the guest room, whenever that is, what that looks like, if he's going to be. We have a bed there too, so maybe he'll still be joining. And also shout out to Ernie for the thumbs up over on Facebook. So commenting on YouTube, thumbs up on Facebook. You're doing the Broncos Mile High Huddle work there. Thank you, Ernie. Denver Luke also 199 with the coffee emoji. Good morning. Shout out to Patrick as well. Lion Coffee. Yeah, they get me going every morning. So appreciate them. He also says morning, y'all. Great to see you. We got our guy Roy Osborne joining us over on YouTube. It was so awesome to meet Roy at the meet and greet this year. First game. What? You can't go to any more games, Roy. It's going to be impossible unless it's like a playoff game. But there's a lot of stakes in that one, but it's going to be hard to overcome that. The Giants come back, but good to see you. Good morning to you. Coach Chris is in the house. Says good morning, Bronc fans. Nick, Eric, good morning. What's wrong with the screen size? I think somebody commented back. Maybe it was Dylan. So I guess I need to pay attention a little bit more to that now. They're doing the vertical one. I guess YouTube specifically, algorithm wise, says like the vertical is better. We've had some complaints. Do you think we can like do YouTube twice on here and have a vertical and non-vertical? Like, can people choose? I don't even know how that would.
I think that's what it does. I think there should be
Oh,
2 streams on YouTube that are vertical and horizontal.
well, shows what I know. I did not pay attention to the orientation. But no, that's what's going on, and hopefully you can still enjoy our beautiful faces here on this one. I can see Eric's a little bit off kilter on the vertical there. So Eric, let's get you straightened up here. What's going on? It's like it's inverted, right? It's tough. But good to see Coach Chris always coming in. Bama's in the house. Sorry about the tough loss this week against Oklahoma. That SEC, man, it's a tough conference. We'll see. I don't know if anybody's beating Ohio State this season, but top to bottom, as a Big Ten guy, I can say the SEC is definitely the best. Ernie Mays, like we said, what's up? To Noah is in the house. Appreciate you. Coach Chris is going to have a honey-do list. Yeah, hopefully the weather's okay for you on that one. We got Shiloh coming in, says good morning. Appreciate you. Aaron Wagner's in the house, says, what causes a QB in their second year to regress on deep balls? Bo's feet weren't perfect last year either, but those deep shots were open. Would drafting another wide receiver help us? We're going to get into the wide receiver stuff, but like wide receiver and just playmaker in general has to be high on the list for the Broncos adding this offseason. I still think at the end of the day, it does come down to mechanics and timing as much as anything. But having Franklin, who like, how do I put it? He does a lot of things right until it comes to the moment of truth at the catch point sometimes. And sometimes like the last few steps or whatever, like tracking the football, like again, there's potential with him, but gotta come down with it. And I've heard some people I really respect say deep ball accuracy is as much a wide receiver stat as it is a quarterback stat. Now you got to get it in the vicinity, and we've had some non-vicinity deep shots this season. But I would say it still probably comes down to the lower body mechanics in the end, and timing, of course.
Yeah, real quick, I wanted to go
Thanks,
and
man.
show this for the stream stuff real quick with it. So if you go to the Mile Huddle homepage in the live tab, if you look, my computer's being a little slow. It shows that there's 2 broadcasts of it, and if you look carefully at the end of one of them, I don't know how well you guys can see this watching it, tuning in live. There's like a little phone on it. That's the one that's for mobile, and the other one is the one that's for the wider screen, the normal one, the horizontal one. So if you don't like the one of the small screen, Chris, you can go click over to the other one and should be fine with that. But
There we go.
anyways, as for the deep shots, there's a lot of issues with it. Obviously, there's some issues with the hands of the receiver, with Troy Franklin in particular. I mean, Cortland Sutton had a bad drop on a deep shot weeks ago. I think it was in that Giants game. So it's not just a Franklin fault, but obviously you have to have the receiver track the ball well, make the catch, and go, that whole process. As for the quarterback, especially with Bo Nix, with so many of these that we've seen being just too much on it, it's lower body mechanics, it's timing, and it's just, I don't know, I'm probably gonna get flagged for this, but part of it seems like there's a little bit of a lack of confidence in his arm strength. Like he's not sure if he's going to be able to get there, so he just takes that extra hitch and puts just a little bit too much on it to make sure. So he's just got to dial that in. Maybe it's not confidence, maybe it's something else, but there is something mentally there that is leading to it. When you have such a consistent issue with overthrows like we're seeing, it's definitely something on the mental side of it. Nick just has to find a way to rein that in, whether it's, a lot more work on those, set up the trash cans at the, different field levels down the field, and just have them go through the drop back and just consistently work on hitting those. Whatever the case, that's got to be part of it. And then, we talk about this a lot, that it's a whole team that's going through things. There are times where the offensive line needs to hold up a little bit better to where they can allow Nick to, step into the throw and follow through. That hasn't been the biggest issue with the deep balls this season. It has been an issue on a handful of them. So that is something to keep an eye as well. A lot of times deep shots, you just need everything to go right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the arm strength stuff. Like coming out of Oregon, I would say at this point, I definitely underrated the arm talent of Bo Nix. Not necessarily, yeah, he doesn't have a top 10 arm in the NFL, but it's top 15, top 18. And when you combine that with the athleticism and just some of the throws that he can make, the S-tier throws, which he does have them on tape. It's fine. But it definitely sometimes, I think it's the worry of turning the ball over as much as anything. He doesn't have that, Brett Favre bozo gene, if you will, pushing the football. So, or Josh Allen bozo gene, if you want to call it that. We saw that last night a little bit. But wide receiver, playmaker in general, it's definitely the most blinking light immediately on this team. But maybe it won't be in the offseason. We'll see what happens. We do want to say hello to more people coming in here. We got Shiloh coming in, says, is our offensive line pass block win rate lower than last year? I don't know. We don't know. We don't allow many sacks, but it seems like Bo's getting displaced a bit in games. It's still one of the best pass blocking lines in football, but I think the pass block win rate stat is a bit inflated because of how quickly Bo gets rid of the football or tries to escape the pocket. I think they're probably somewhere closer to the 5 to 10 range of pass protection and closer to the middle of the pack, probably second quartile in run blocking this season. And they have had some games that were not good. Like that Raiders game, they got beat up in that one. That was a bad game from the offensive line and pass protection. First half of the Chiefs game, not always the best on some of that was Bo Nix not knowing not seeing where the pressure was coming from on some simulated pressures, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to happen from time to time. Or Chris Jones beating up Palczewski or something. That's going to happen from time to time. But yeah, I think it's still a very good unit. But I think pass block win rate specifically is a little inflated for how the Broncos play and how Bo Nix plays.
Yeah, in terms of comparison to last year at the end of the season, they were pass block win rate was 74% from ESPN, which was the top of the NFL. This year, so far, they're only 70%, which is third in the NFL so far this season. Run block win rate is a much bigger drop off where they went from first at 75% to ninth at 72%. So not a big drop off in terms of percentage, but in terms of drop off and where they're ranking in it. And with that said, a lot of it is what's going on with Bo Nix, with how fast he's getting out of it, not how fast he's getting the ball out of his hands, and even to an extent, how quickly he is to escape a pocket that's even clean at times. Now, this year, we've seen a lot more of those more consistent rough games, especially for individual players. Alex Palczewski, I think, has cemented the fact that he's not a starting guard outside of injury, especially after the Chiefs game. It was just he was a rough one to watch. And then you have the inconsistencies with Luke Wattenberg, and then Mike McGlinchey. He's been really inconsistent in pass protection, even more inconsistent than he was last year. And then we're coming off against the Chiefs, Garrett Bowles' worst game of the season, where he has 12 pressures a lot on the season, and I think 4 of them came against the Chiefs. So it was a rough one, and we've seen some more rough games like the Raiders one. And there's a lot that goes into it, but pass block win rate tries its best to limit the impact of the quarterback with how they calculate it, but it still can create sample size issues because the pass block win rate deals with a certain amount of time. So even then, if Bo Nix isn't, holding the ball for longer than a certain amount of time, it's not being calculated into it. And while his average time to throw is I think it's like 2.72 seconds, which is in there, he just has a lot of those throws that are, I think, under the 2-second minimum mark for it, just because of the quick screens and stuff that lowers the sample size quite a bit for the offensive line.
Yeah, and again, it protects them. The screen game protects the offensive line. You're not seeing a lot of deep drops. It's more calculated shot plays, if you will, with like max protect drawn in there as well, or play action to buy yourself a little bit more time. So again, the offensive line is the strength of the offense. No doubt. It's a top 5 to 10 unit in football this season. I'll be excited for Powers to get back here, and probably after the Raiders game, I guess, is when we start to get on watch there. So 3 weeks from now still. Palczewski's played admirably. He's one of those ones, it's like the money ball option. Like, let's say the Broncos, we'll get into it now as well. Broncos have some free agents coming up this offseason, and obviously with some of these contracts that they've signed starting to get a little bit bigger, they're going to have to start making some tough decisions. Also, that's just the natural ebb and flow of building the roster. You don't want to be a team full of third and fourth contract players. You can get old and slow and injured and bad really quick if you just keep re-signing guys. But currently the Broncos, here's the list of the notable players. This is from Spot Rack. So you have John Franklin Myers set to hit free agency, Alex Singleton set to hit free agency, Will Lutz, Adam Troutman, Malcolm Roach, PJ Locke, Justin Strnad, J.K. Dobbins, Michael Burton, Luke Wattenberg, and long forgotten De'Laren Turner-Yell, safety. So I guess we should probably start with the interior defensive line. Those are probably your two most valuable pieces that are going to hit free agents, potentially hit free agency. Broncos did dole out 4 contracts along the defensive line of scrimmage over the last a little over a calendar year because the in-season John Franklin deal, but you bring back you sign you sign Zach Allen, you sign DJ Jones, you bring back Cooper, you pay Benito. I would love to bring back John Franklin Myers. I'll be curious to see what his market looks like out there. I'm expecting him to probably get something 12 to 15 million APY, and he deserves it with how he plays. But he definitely feels like the priority out of all the players we listed here. He'll probably be the most expensive. If you do bring him back, he's probably your quote unquote big splash this offseason as far as signing. And I just want to give attention to Luca Evans, his piece that he had. He did a little interview with John Franklin Myers over at the Denver Post, and he tweeted it out. And if you get a chance to go read it, read what John Franklin Myers had to say about being a mentor to the players and just the mentality of the defense and the defensive line. He's that's culture, man. He pretty incredible player. So hopefully Broncos can bring him back, but he's the one who it's the most interesting to me this offseason.
Yeah, for me, I'm with you with the second and third contract. You can't have a full team of that, and you got to let these guys go eventually. But in order to get that, you have to have the pieces behind them, right? You have to have somebody ready to step up and do that. And despite drafting Savion Jones, we don't know what he's going to be because he can't even get active for games, which I say that, but it's also a fact of let's look at how good this defensive line has been. Uwazurike stepped up. So how are you going to get him active without deactivating somebody else? But I mean, he's a 3rd round pick of this unit that they definitely want to get out there on the field. If they wanted him active, they would make him active. There's a reason why they don't. And that to me is a big sign that he's not going to be ready to replace Franklin Myers next year. And Uwazurike doesn't play that same kind of role or even position with it. He's more of a 2-3 technique when they put him out there on the field. So he's not in line to step in it. So the Broncos are currently projected to have about $50 million in salary cap space right now. And they'll probably lose about $5 million of that with raises for it, with players getting raises for performance and whatnot. And that is if the salary cap goes to 295 as over the cap projects it. Now, over the cap is typically a little bit on the shorter end of it, a little bit more conservative with it. And the rumors going around is that the salary cap this year is actually going to break 300 million, which would put the Broncos closer to 55 million than it would be 50 million. They have plenty of money. And especially when you have such rich owners, the easiest way that you work around the salary cap is through bonuses and stuff like that instead of base salaries. And that's what the Broncos have been doing a lot with some of their more recent contracts, especially since the Walter Penner group came over. They're one of the 2 teams that are really taking into effect the incentives and bonus money starting being paid out and hitting in August, right before the season starts. And which also can, again, makes it very easy to work around the salary cap. Salary cap's not an issue. The question is, do they want to bring John Franklin Myers back? And they 100% should. It's a thing of you can dish out a 3-year contract to him that's basically a 2-1 or even a 1 plus 1 and 1 and 1 type structure where you have a series of option years on it, basically, and do that. They have some contracts on the Broncos that they just gave out last offseason that they could look to. And the same thing with DJ Jones. You can just basically hand him, or Malcolm Roach, you can just basically hand him DJ Jones' contract. Defensive line's a strength. You don't have replacements for those 2. Keep it a strength while you work to find those replacements.
I'm with you. I will say the one, just to play devil's advocate, you might be able to John Franklin Myers position and find a player who's 4 years younger that has, flashed on a worse team. And granted, it could be, what did the Denver give up? A 6th round pick for him? Now, granted, that's like saying, oh, we could just use a 7th round pick on Tom Brady in the future, right? Like that was a hit well beyond anybody's wildest dreams and expectations, at least from the general
Are
media.
you
And
waiting until the end of April to bet on that, though, to keep this defensive line as strong as it is?
I think it's something that you have avenues still as well, and it would depend a lot on what Franklin Myers is asking for as far as the structure of the contract. Like, I don't want to give him something that pays him beyond 2 years. In essence, like I don't want to pay him massive guarantees, like a 4-year contract where it's 3 years. If
No.
I can give him a 3-year contract where that third year is able to get out of,
Yeah.
I think you can do that. You get a lot of flexibility then. But uh, anything that's 4 years in structure, right, where it's essentially then 3 years, I'm a little bit more hesitant on. And obviously, you can do some stuff where like there's the
Yeah.
option. It's like a 2-2 or 2-1-1. I get that, but it is an area where I think that Denver will consider it based on what Franklin Myers is asking and deserves, compared to potentially trusting their front office, both the pro scouts and the college scouts, in finding somebody. And it's something where you might be able to go Moneyball veteran, especially with how this team is right now. Moneyball veteran, somebody who's ring chasing a 1-year contract, and then maybe Savion Jones steps in then in 2027, or you have the option to go with that as your first round pick in the draft. When you do that, sometimes you can like have a patch in there that's like, we're fine playing them. It's not a plus player, but like if the draft falls a certain way, then we're going first round there. I kind of feel that way maybe about this offseason at left guard, Eric. Like, let's say like Palczewski, he's been admirable, and I don't love going that way with him. But if you can find a center guard that's like a veteran, at the end, like gosh, who was the person? Evan Mathis, Broncos signed there at the end, right? Like maybe it's Patino coming in. And then maybe you like, oh my gosh, we absolutely love Caden Proctor, and he falls to us. And because he's 360 and moves like that, I don't think he's got the feet for left tackle, but he can be an all-pro guard. You moneyballed it and you gave yourself flexibility where you're not screwed if you don't go there early, but if the option presents itself in the draft, you can go there. So I'm with you. I want to bring back John Franklin Myers. It's just the Jenga game that you have in team building, and especially where the Broncos are right now, it's good problems. Um, and Franklin Myers would be my priority one as far as the list of guys we just went through to bring back, especially with how that unit is playing off itself and as a rotational group as well. Signing him back wouldn't keep me from going there round one because we haven't seen enough from Savion Jones.
Because you
Uh,
also need a replacement for him down the road, and even possibly Zach Allen.
yep.
So you gotta build to that point.
Yeah. I just think there could be short, cheap, especially with where the Broncos are at right now, players who want to come in and play on an elite defense for under Sean Payton. But maybe that changes with Vance Joseph leaving. The almighty dollar speaks at the end of the day. Can we get ourselves a 60-year-old Calais Campbell in here?
I was just gonna say, on that note, real quick, looking through some of the projected free agents on the interior defensive line, it is an old group of free agents.
It might be like a 1-year, $5 million deal where you get replacement level, all the same. I don't want to do that. It's something that could happen if Franklin Myers prices himself out. Coach Chris coming in here saying after the mini bye, we start to see better. This year, we saw better footwork from Bo. With an actual bye week, we expect to see a massive step forward. In 2024, we scored 235 points at that point. This year, 257, playing a higher talent, but our offense is scoring more. Yeah, I don't know exactly if that's at the bye week or how that exactly lines up. I'm more interested in like the points per drive. The Broncos this season have had the highest pace of offense in the entire league as far as the total drives. I believe that's true. That might have changed after the Chiefs game. But like going to that Chiefs game, you see the Chiefs like the point total. I think it's an NBC Sports puts out like the most points given up this season, and they have the Broncos like fifth and the Chiefs third. The Broncos have had like 45 more drives faced defensively because of the pace of play and the 3 and outs and how quickly the Broncos give the ball up, but then how quickly the defense gets it back. So they've just had a lot of drives this season. So I'd be more interested in the rate statistics here. But to your point, Coach, and thank you so much for the $50 super chat. God bless you. Hopefully you figured it out how to get it on the horizontal on the screen. But I think that I do expect to see Bo Nix playing better down the stretch. And I think it's almost mostly because not only is it the bye week and everybody getting on track and what we've seen Sean Payton do coming out of bye weeks in the past and having a little time, but you have still a young offensive group around them, especially a pass catcher, wide receiver. And also you have two pretty bad. I mean, not bad. The Raiders defense is underrated, but like the Commanders, you look at the worst or the best offensive quarterback performances in the entire league this season. And a lot of times they've gone up against the Commanders. So you got the bye week and then you got that game. So hopefully you'll start to have some chances coming forward in the Packers game. Jags taking the ball away. We'll see, but I'm expecting better baseline from Bo Nix going forward.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great opportunity, just as the mini bye week was, for him to, put that work in. The mini bye week, he got that a little bit of an escape from it. I believe he went on a hike or two over the weekend after the Thursday night game. So hopefully, I don't think he needs to take that, time away so much this time, but now he can get back and focus and, continue to put the work in and build off that Chiefs game with his footwork, where there were some bad moments, yes, but for the most part, it was a really clean game with the footwork and even the lower body mechanics in general. So you can build off of that during the bye week, and that definitely should be the focus for Bo Nix, Davis Webb, and of course Sean Payton.
Yeah, we got Rob Bucksbaum, one of the OGs in the house. Good to see you, Rob. Says, good morning. Thoughts on former Houston Texan running back Dameon Pierce, now a free agent? I mean, it's weird because he had some pretty good games, and I think a 4th-round pick coming out of Florida. I don't know if there's something character-wise going on with him. I know that he struggled in, I think, zone concepts and was okay in gap. I might be mixing those two up. There's one area where it's like, oh, man, not reading it very well. But, I mean, you need a body out there that can take some punishment between the tackles. So he was waived, not technically a free agent. So he's got to pass through waivers. And I do think the Broncos are 32 out of 32 there right now in the waiver order. So I don't expect him to make it to Denver. I mean, you got the Chargers, who have lost 3 running backs so far. I think Vidal is also down now. So we will see. Chiefs/Chargers might claim him just to keep him from falling to Denver. But I don't know. He would definitely be an option. One of my draft favorites, who I think has to have character issues, Eric, but Damian Martinez is out there on the practice squad for the Seahawks, who ran like a banshee between the tackles at Miami. Granted, good offensive line and number 1 overall pick at quarterback, but you got to find a little bit of girth at the running back spot here. And RJ Harvey, in theory, he's built, but the between the tackles stuff is not materialized quite yet. And I don't want it to be him and Jaleel being the only go-to options there at the running back. They got to bring in another body.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. They need somebody in there, because closing out the Chiefs game, when they were trying to pick some of those shorter yardage first downs and they had Harvey out there trying to do it, I was really worried. Fortunately, he was able to get it done, but I still don't want to bet on his 31.1% success rate consistently in those situations. Definitely would love to see a bigger body. I personally am not one for Dameon Pierce. Having watched him, I think there are a lot of issues. He was one that was better in gap than zone, but wasn't great. And one thing that I always look at when you talk about picking up players from other teams is how does that they look at that position that guy played. They have been trying to replace Pierce basically since his rookie year, when he, last was the big guy. He had like 900 yards rushing as a rookie. Hasn't done much since then. Injuries have also played a part in it, but they've done everything they can to replace him. And it's not like the Texans have had, I don't want to say haven't had a great running back room, because it's been pretty decent, but they've had a lot of injury questions with Woody Marks and Joe Mixon and their 3rd running back, whose name I can't remember right now. And yet they're dealing, all 3 of those guys are injured right now, and they still waive Dameon Pierce. There is definitely something there off the field with him that is making it to where the Texans are like, yeah, we just don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah. Big E Bronco says, do you think it's the back surgery with Bo Nix he had last year that affected his mental capability? Thinking I wasn't able to do what I was doing before. Only Bo Nix can answer that. I mean, it's certainly a possibility. He was playing really frantic right now. I mean, not like scared, but just like super high strung, like test anxiety until the 4th quarter, which is crazy. Then it's, very, very calm, cool, and collected. So I don't know. The mechanics were off, and he was playing way too helter-skelter for a lot. But he was getting it done in the 4th quarter, and he looked promising in the Chiefs game. Now, granted, it's a sample size of 1, but you got the bye week now, and hopefully like going back at the tape and the coaches being like, look at this, look what you did there. Good on you. Here's a gold star. The lollipop. We'll hopefully see that a little bit more going forward, because we don't need him to be Josh Allen, out there like making crazy plays. We need you to be Mac Jones, Brock Purdy right now. It's like every once in a while break glass in case of emergency, but like run the offense, hit the open guy, because they're, from what I see, Eric, I know a lot of Broncos country, which I disagree vehemently with. Sean Payton has become like it's all his fault for Bo Nix missing guys. Like that's not what I'm seeing on the tape. Like hit the open guy, make the read. Doesn't have to be perfect. Protect the football. Just manage right now. We don't need you to be MVP Bo Nix. We need you to be execution Bo Nix. That'd be great. Executioner would be a great name for Bo Nix. Also, he doesn't execute as much, but the fourth quarter, closing teams out. Maybe the Sandman, putting other teams to sleep. So I know they're trying to figure out a good nickname for Bo Nix. Nothing has even come close yet, but hopefully we'll find something at some point.
When you have the name Bo, you don't need a nickname. That's where I stand on that whole conversation. Yeah. But anyways, with Bo Nix, with his play, I think a lot of it really was mental for him. And the reason why I say that is I went back and I watched every single throw of his prior to the Chiefs game, and I did an article about the Raiders game and how bad he looked in it. And then I went through and did a follow-up film piece that looked at some of the best throws that he made throughout the season and what he was doing right. And almost every single one of them came back to something mental, either not trusting what he was seeing. So he would double hitch on the ball or on the pass, or not exactly trust his receiver, or whatever the case it was. It always went back to something of confidence or trust in him. So it's something mental. And then I went back and watched the Chiefs game, and I wanted to do a film piece on it. But just didn't have time this week to do it. So maybe next week, but we'll see. It's be a long time after. But anyways, I digress. He was just dropping back, hitting the top of his drop, climb the pocket, see the throw, make the throw. It was just bam, 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 bam. And it was smooth. It was quick. It was, it's exactly what you want to see for a guy who just needs to run the office. The only thing I would like to say, and is a little bit more calculated risk with him. I'm all for protecting the ball, but there are times where you really need to just put a lot more trust in your receivers to come down and make the play. And I think that's part of why Pat Bryant hasn't gotten some of these targets, is he maybe just doesn't trust him to make the play with coverage there, even though he's shown that he can, especially over Troy Franklin, who Bo Nix has turned to a lot in that. So there's a lot of things going for it. I like to see a little bit more calculated risk, but he just needs to play clean mentally for it, and the rest will come with it. And we saw that against the Chiefs, and we saw how much the mental aspect of it was an issue prior to the Chiefs game.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're absolutely correct on that. And I'm going to pull up the free agents here for the Broncos just so we have a chance to talk about it. I don't know how that's going to go on the vertical screen. Okay, it looks fine. So if you guys see that at home, obviously John Franklin Myers is one. Will Lutz has got to be back, right? Like I think Sean Payton would marry Will Lutz if he had the chance. Yeah. That's not a question here. I think PJ Locke is gone. I think J.K. Dobbins is gone, unless you're talking about like a replication of this contract and signing somebody else on top of it. But it depends.
Or drafting.
J.K. Dobbins, yes. J.K. Dobbins being back is going to be predicated on what R.J. Harvey does down the stretch. If R.J. Harvey proves that he can be really good and viable, but like still not somebody that's, purely between the tackles, power, heavy workload, I think you can probably do the J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey thing again and draft a running back round 3 through 7 area. Just, fill out the room a little bit, give yourself a little bit of insurance. But right now I would say that based on what we've seen from Harvey, I don't think you can do that. Right now, my hope and dream is Tyler Algier because I adore him. I would love to see him get the reverse Michael Turner effect, where Michael Turner was behind LaDainian Tomlinson for all those years and then went on and had like 2 or 3 really good years with the Falcons. Falcons had Bijan Robinson, who people have compared to LT. And because of that, Algier has not had the wear and tear that you typically see for a back entering their second contract. And he runs a style that I wouldn't want to have him, forever, but give him a 3-year contract to come in here and beat up. I mean, I really want to embrace the bully ball mentality. And the defense has done it. Offense hasn't quite yet. I think Algier would bring that edge. I have a Tyler Algier Atlanta Falcons shirt. That's how big of a fan I am. Scott sent it to me, but like he's been my guy since BYU. Talking about those, I did want to talk about the linebackers as well. I think that's the next most interesting spot here. I would expect one of these guys back. I guess there is a possibility, though, Eric, that if Greenlaw struggles or is injured again or something, his contract is set up where you could move on from him, and maybe then you bring back both Singleton and Stranad. But right now, I would expect it to be either Stranad or Singleton with Greenlaw next season. We'll see what happens with Drew Sanders down the stretch. And the other caveat about all these defensive players, Eric, that we haven't mentioned yet, if Vance Joseph goes, Broncos free agents are going to follow him. They're going to prioritize signing these guys in so he can implement the defense and the culture. So we'll see what happens there. But, Malcolm Roach, given how Wazarike has played, maybe there's a little bit of a conversation there. Not exactly a 1-for-1, but I don't think you're playing Roach and John Franklin Myers. So we'll see. Wazarike gives you a little bit more in-house floor options than what you see at that 3 to 7 technique options with JFM 4i technically, but he'll play across. What do you think about the linebackers coming across? Other than that, nothing really stands out. Troutman, God bless you. I'll be Dragon Slayer 69 and say that it'd be great to replace you.
Man, those comments from him were absolutely insane and awful. Bad look for him, especially with the fact that he needs to look in the mirror at how bad he's been. But as for the linebackers, I wouldn't expect the Broncos to move on from Dre Greenlaw at this moment. Now, of course, you raise the possibility of if he plays poorly like he did against the Chiefs or gets injured or even suspended again, his contract is structured in a way where Denver can get out of it relatively easy after the season with a post-June 1st cut where they would only then be on the books for basically $4.3 million. That's split pretty basically down the middle between 2026 and 2027. You can live with basically the $2.15 million in dead cap space over the 2 years for him and keep Alex Singleton and Justin Stranad. I really think that would be a almost a break glass in case of emergency kind of situation. It really sounds like that the Broncos do want to keep one of Singleton and Stranad and allow the other one to work or the other one to walk as they try to work the compensatory pick game a little bit more so that, Sean Payton can have that ammo to help him move around and trade up in the draft for the guys that he wants. So I wouldn't expect both of them back, barring that situation. But I would say right now that the odds of that happening are maybe like 5 to 10%. I think that they would rather keep Stranad over Singleton at the moment. But on that same note, Sternad's going to be the one that might generate a little bit more in interest in the free agent market. And as you said, Vance Joseph, wherever he goes, I would fully expect him to be all over John Franklin Myers, Malcolm Roach, and one of those two linebackers, if not even both of them, depending on the team and situation he ends up at.
I bet you they bring in PJ Locke too. I mean, just the third safety, again, implementing the defense. That happens all the time. So hopefully they can get John Franklin Myers done. We talked about everybody. The one that's still interesting here, Eric, because I do want to move on to potential cuts and then the draft as well. We gotta book it here. We got 20 minutes left. Center, Luke Wattenberg. I think he's probably league average at the center position right now. And if you have any spot that is weaker on the line, you probably go center or left guard in the end of the day. But I don't expect the Broncos to resign Luke Wattenberg. He's been fine again. And the hard thing about center is you don't typically want to draft and place a rookie there. So I'm not sure what the options there outside of internal options. Like maybe Palczewski tries to snap the football. I don't know how that works internally. He's a little smaller. He's not the best at the point of attack, but he seems like a smart player, which is, probably the most important thing for the center. Arguably the second most intelligent base position out there on the field next to quarterback. And then you need, but you don't typically want to have a rookie plug and play there. So I am curious what the options are. You obviously have Forsyth in-house right now. And you also have Gargiulio, who's been more left guard, but I think played center at South Carolina, is also an Ivy League guy as well before South Carolina. So he's probably the only good South Carolina offensive lineman in the last 5 years based on any Gamecocks tape I'd watched. Oh my God, their offensive line is horrible. But I digress. What do you think about the center position? Do you have an obvious option? Is this the one where you go cheap veteran to fill in? I'm curious.
So one thing I want to say with the offensive line, when you look at Sean Payton teams, he's typically had big money at 4 of the 5.
Yeah.
Pretty typically throughout his career as a head coach, even going, even the early years with the Saints, he had the left guard, right guard, tackle, and I think both tackles actually, all but the
Both
center
tackles.
was a cheap spot. When it comes to the center position, Alex Forsyth, you're up. I think that's what it's going to be. They really like him internally. When they brought him in, they actually felt that he could be a starter. Lloyd Cushenberry just happened to step his game up that final year of his contract and made it so Alex Forsyth wasn't able to start. They really looked at that as they were looking at Luke Wattenberg as more of a guard at that time. So that worked out for Denver as Lloyd Cushenberry went and got paid, got Denver into the compensatory pick formula, and Lloyd Cushenberry has been bad since then. So I think that they're going to I don't think that there's even going to be a conversation here about keeping Luke Wattenberg. I think he's going to be allowed to walk, and that they're going to turn to Alex Forsyth there. Maybe bring in another, this is one where they go money ball, cheap veteran option on a 1-year deal that comes in, competes, and then, maybe, looking at the one guy that's sitting on the practice squad right now as well that was rather good in the preseason, Mikowski. He had a really good preseason this year, snapping the ball for him. So they might look at him to be part of that competition as well. I've actually heard a lot of praise for him and how much he's improved working on the practice squad with his development this so far. So that's where I think they go. And right now, I don't think they move on from Ben Powers, which I know it is the topic of conversation coming up. I think they're actually going to roll with him just because it would be a post-June 1st cut to move on from him. They can't do it any other way just because of the restructure they did last year. And when that conversation comes up, it's also worth noting Alex Palczewski has only 1 more year left of cost control. So that's going to play a factor into things as well.
And then I did want to pivot here. Internal guys who might be cut. So you mentioned Powers. You don't expect him to be cut. We'll see what happens. That is a good amount of cash that you can free up by moving on from him. Of course, the page I was using has 10,000 pop-ups that came up. I won't shout out their name because that made me mad. But they can save a good amount of money moving on from Powers next year. I don't know. Is it like 8 million, 9 million? Do you know the number off the top of your head?
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it right now. It's basically 9.8 million in dead money if they cut him with a pre-June 1st, so that they don't do that post-June 1st designation, with about basically 8.65 in freed up salary cap space, which is still a decent amount. I just don't think they'd be willing to eat basically the 9.8 in dead in 1 year. So that's why I think that it would be very much, if they do it, it would be a post-June 1st designation.
The other ones that are interesting that can free up a lot of cash for the Broncos, Brandon Jones, that contract, I think he's been fine. You don't have to do it, but just, calling it out for what it is, the contract, you can free up, let me see, almost 7 million with only less than 2 million dead. Then you have Evan Ingram. That might be a post June 1st with how he's playing. You can free up almost 4 million. It's 10 million dead, but he's not doing very much right now, Eric. I think Evan Ingram is certainly in the conversation. And then the other one is Drake Greenlaw. You can save almost 7 million with 4.3 dead. So we will see with those positions. Out of the guys I listed, I think Ingram is the one, and it's probably somewhat biased from me because he's been so disappointing this year, but he's not bringing much to the table for me. That would also be turning over 2 of your 3 tight ends, but that feels like it's necessary with this position right now. But any of the other guys potentially cut that could free up some space. Obviously, Powers is the one that's a blinking light because of how much you can save, almost 9 million. But as you mentioned, replacing a center already, do you want to replace 2 of the interior positions? We'll see.
Yeah, and as I said before, Sean Payton's like to have that money invested, and they do really like Ben Powers, and he is a big part of what they do in the running game with his pulling ability. Probably a top 10 pulling guard in the NFL at minimum. I don't think they would do Evan Ingram, even with the post-June 1st designation, simply because that's $10 million in dead cap space, still split over 2 years. And I mean, when instead of just paying him the 14.1 and getting out from underneath that contract after that season, I think they'd rather just live with that, especially with the fact that, hey, they're going to be having about 50 million in projected 50 million in salary cap space to work with. And we've seen what they are able to do with adding in talent using far less than that, right? Not that long ago, they were able to bring in Zach Allen, Mike McGlinchey, Ben Powers, and even a couple other not as big contracts, but other contracts in when they only had like 30 million in salary cap space to work with. So we've seen what they can do with the salary cap space that they have. And now they actually have another good amount with it with Russell Wilson's dead cap coming off the books. Don't think they want to start building that dead cap up hit again, which is again, Ben Powers, Evan Ingram. I don't see that. Don't see Brandon Jones, Dre Greenlaw. Also don't see it. I think this is a year where we don't see cuts to make room, barring major injuries to Evan Ingram that threw him off for the rest of the season, or Dre Greenlaw. Knock on wood. Don't want either of those happen. So outside of that, I don't see it happening. But I think it could be a year where we see quite a few restructures.
Okay. All right, we'll keep an eye out for that. I hate the void year nonsense, but I know that Hurtado has tended to do that. And
the name of the game anymore.
I know shouldn't be allowed. I think it's dumb. I'll pay him $1 for the in perpetuity. What's the? You're not a baseball guy, Eric, but who's the baseball player that's still getting paid?
Ohtani. Oh no, the Mets dude for
Bobby Bonilla.
Bobby Bonilla. That's his name.
Crazy. Good for him.
I thought you were talking about Ohtani's contract where he's paid chump change until 2035 or something.
I don't know.
Crap like that.
That's
why I hate baseball. That's
dumb. Okay, so getting to it, free agency now for the Broncos. Right now, I think they have to sign a running back. The draft doesn't really line up where running backs look very good on the whole. So I think you have to bring in somebody there. Again, I mentioned Tyler Algier as my go-to guy. Do you have anybody else that stands out that you're like, oh yeah, let's bring in this running back? But I've been a fan for Algier for a bit. You have ETN as well, who's out there. Rico Dowdle has had a hell of a year for the Panthers. Of course, Breece Hall is a free agent. Kenneth Walker runs angry, right? So he's an option out there as well. Those seem to be the big names just scrolling down the list. I mean, if you had to go like, cheap hammer, A.J. Dillon is an option too. Brian Robinson. So there'll be some cheap hammer options that if you want to go a little less injury prone than J.K. Dobbins, you can. But it's just a really bad running back draft year, Eric. I think after Love, it's like it falls off a freaking cliff. So probably has to be free agency.
I mean, I'm still working on putting on my scouting board. I've only done some of the top stuff. I know in a lot of circles that I chat with, they're actually pretty hyped about this running back room. Not so much for the top talent. It is very much Love. And then everybody else you're talking about third round and later. But they really like there's been 10 to 15 names that have been mentioned as, round 3 to round 5 guys that can come in and be part of rotation for it in amongst people that I talk with. So that's been getting hype in that range. But again, I haven't done a whole lot of work. I couldn't tell you any of those names right now. I've watched Love and man, he's a dream right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear rumors about Sean Payton wanting to trade up to go get him, much like we got with Ashton Genty. As for free agency, it's Tyler Algier or re-sign J.K. Dobbins, and that's it. I wouldn't really touch anybody else in the free agent market.
No Breece Hall love at all?
Not for what he's going to get.
Yeah. Rico Dowdle 1 year. I mean, I think you could go cheap for Kenneth Walker for a year, but I was pilled by how he looked at Michigan State for that one season. He was incredible. Polico 59 wants Alvin Kamara. I think he signed a big contract, so you'd have to trade for him. And he's really, I mean, it happens to everybody, but his play has dropped. So I don't think he is a viable option for the Broncos, but they need to find another running back. Obviously, the other position, Eric, that's kind of hinted beat around the bush, but they probably have to find a wide tight end, man. I'm just kind of losing my mind with the wide tight end spot. Troutman, you're lower on him than I am, but like he's a war zero player. Like he's an NPC. You see some of the stuff where like he is the inline guy and he's getting beat. Like that's your job, man. You're not bringing much as a receiver. Like we need you to hold up, and tight end versus defensive end every once in a while. That's a tough assignment, but you can't be batting, 0.050 in those assignments like he seems to be. So sorry, Dragon Slayer 69 moment here. I'll grab my Slurpee after that, Troutman. But I I think you have to find a wide tight end. The market doesn't look good necessarily, but that's an area where we'll keep an eye on cuts and potentially trades for the Broncos as well.
Yeah, Adam Troutman, you can't live with him as your number 2 tight end. He was fine as a number 3 behind Nate Atkins and Evan Ingram, getting most of that. But the best thing he does is he changes the way defenses play the offense, and that's leading to a more efficient offense, which that's great. Doesn't change the fact that for some reason it's happening with him being just downright awful. Like, it's been borderline unrosterable with how bad he's been. It's a position I would expect them to look at free agency. There are a few names that were linked with prior to the trade deadline that are hitting the free agent market. You know, you have Chigo Okonkwo with the Titans, although he's Evan Ingram light. David Njoku, a big one there that's been linked with Denver for years. Dallas Goedert, he's his contract's set to void. Same with Njoku. So if those contracts void, I would expect Denver to be making calls on them. Because if I remember right, if the contract voids, they basically become a street free agent, not an unrestricted free agent, so they don't have to wait. And both of their contracts void, if I remember correct, again, in like middle of February or early February, right around the Super Bowl time. You also have guys like Daniel Bellinger, who you've talked about a lot, that can, you know, fit into that conversation there. And there's some guys that are out there that can come in and contribute and at least replicate what you're getting out of the good you're getting out of Adam Troutman, I should say. Maybe still just tight end 3, but just somebody to add to the room outside of, you know, Njoku and Goddard and a couple other guys. Kate Otten, he's another one that's an unrestricted free agent, though I fully expect Tampa Bay to keep him around. So there's some guys in free agency that the Broncos can look at, and it's one position I would fully expect them to look at, as well as wide receiver. I do not think they're going to be as timid in the wide receiver free agent market this year as they were last year.
And that was the one I was going to come circle back around to, full circle with the draft talk as well. But first we got Grizz $1.99 says, you guys are the GOATs, been watching MHH since 2019. Man, Grizz, well, thank you for so much for coming in and dropping the super chat and saying hello. If there's any lurkers out there, you don't have to drop a super chat, just, you know, give us praise. We'll accept that as currency as well. So anytime you can make inflate our heads a little bit, we'll take it. Shout out to Grizz. We appreciate you. Clyde says, no thanks to Njoku with the drops. Goddard, yes. I mean, just somebody who's in line that can offer just a little bit more would be good. You mentioned those two names, Eric. You also have, given what they've invested in the position, he's not like a great tight end, but like Tyler Higbee, like serviceable out there. Are you shaking your head because the security incident before the draft? Is there?
There's a lot there with Tyler Higbee. That's just a no for me. Fine player, still not a guy I would really like on the Broncos.
Okay, all right. Well, he's been a interesting player. Can we get the tight end from Utah, Maui, the 6'4", 320-pound tight end? Have you seen him out there? Oh man, it's hilarious.
Another Darnell Washington.
But he's only 6'4", and he's actually 325. Like, he looks like a fullback or like a center.
Darnell Washington's actually 311 from his own mouth.
Like, he looks like a tackle. This guy's stout.
Looks like a guard.
Yeah, it's beautiful to watch. Gotta love those Polynesian players. Utah does a good job with them. H. Wright, good morning. Go Broncos. Go you. Jerry Jeudy might be a free agent. I don't think we're beating down that door. Michael Ronquillo, good morning to you. Appreciate you coming in. Yeah, but tight end is way up there, as you mentioned. I mean, there are a lot of older guys, but short term, maybe options. Austin Hooper obviously is out there. After that, it kind of really does fall off a cliff. But you have the ability to maybe bring in somebody. Maybe it's even a trade position for the Broncos as well if they don't get it in the draft. And talking about the draft, the Broncos right now are set to potentially have a pretty good heap of picks, Eric. There's been some talk about, obviously, Vance Joseph. I think I saw comments in here. We can just pay him. Listen to anything Vance Joseph says, guys. He's gone. Like, God bless him, too. These are good problems to have. He wants the opportunity. He deserves the opportunity. He's going to take the opportunity. He's probably candidate. He might be the best candidate this cycle. He's definitely top 3. Like, he's gone. And this is good problems. The curse of success, as they call it, when you're a good team in the NFL. Teams poach you, they replicate you, and you just have to find ways to reinvent yourself. But Broncos might get some compensatory picks for Vance Joseph. I think you get third-round pick in 2 back-to-back years, if I'm correct. So you get one in 2026. 2027 is the one that I want because that class looks pretty good. Granted, we're talking about the top of the class. Who knows where picking the 108 or whatever that is. Also, there's some talk about Kelly Klein, potentially a general manager as well. And you'd get a third-round pick this year and next year as well for a minority hire. So shout out to Kelly. She's been really good for the Broncos under George Payton here for a number of years. And I'll be really excited to see if she gets a chance out there as well. But he might have a lot of picks. That means the Broncos will be interesting this offseason. And the one position, the value position, Eric, that this team could definitely use an upgrade at is wide receiver. Cortland Sutton will be 31, 32 next year. Franklin, Mims, Bryant, I like them. Do I like any of them as a number 1, number 2? You're like your de facto build the passing offense around guys. No, I think they're useful pieces, and they can be a number 2 if you're have a dominant running back or a dominant tight end. But right now, I think they're better, as the pieces that you can utilize and play matchup games with. So wide receiver has to be up there. I'll be curious to see. That's the one where it's the Broncos could make a splash trade potentially if somebody becomes available. I don't expect George Pickens to be available. I think the Cowboys will bring him back. Granted, do we want George Pickens out here? Denver's not going to be throwing it like the Cowboys are, so it feels like a matter of time before he has A.J. Brown issues, but potentially more on the field problematic. But wide receiver is the one that's the most obvious spot. Now, my hot take here, Eric, I know we're going over, we got to go, I got to get into the office, is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a wide receiver per se. Sean Payton is the king of positionless football. You just need somebody that you can build the offense around. And if it's a tight end, typically you don't see it with a running back, but it can be. Most of the time it's a wide receiver. It's just there's for every 5 good tight ends and 8 good running backs, there's 30 wide receivers, right? That's just the ratio. So I'm expecting wide receiver to be that spot. We'll see what happens with Franklin and Bryant down the stretch, but that's the spot. It seems pretty obvious. You can make an aggressive move for either trade up in the draft, first round pick, or trade for somebody out there.
I wouldn't be surprised if they circle back on Jalen Waddle after the season, because from what I understand, they were actually really close to it. Not as close as another team was, but the Dolphins would never trade to the other team because they were a divisional foe. So Denver was, with that in mind, Denver was, the closest from multiple people that I've talked with and heard from on it. So wide receiver is a position that I position, as well as getting an inline tight end. It is very clear that Sean Payton is not. Well, it is tight end as a position is very clear. Sean Payton's not happy with. Those are the 2 positions I expect him to be the most aggressive with adding somebody from the outside. Whereas with running back, I think that there's a good chance that they just keep J.K. Dobbins and just hope that he can get back and do that and add somebody else to the draft or another cheap free agent. I don't think they'll be as aggressive at running back as I do at wide receiver or tight end. And then circling back to Vance Joseph, I did an article that was talking about Tom Pelissero's, best coaches under 45 that haven't had a head coaching job. Obviously, Vance Joseph wasn't mentioned in it, but he is a guy coaches don't give up opportunities. If they get a chance to run their team, they do that. And even though there's no salary cap with coaching positions, there is an unwritten rule about it that you don't pay defensive coordinator or you don't pay coordinators like you do head coaches. Vance Joseph, he's gone. He's gonna end up somewhere else as a head coach. And it's the same thing with some of the other position coaches that we have. So in the comment section on the article that I wrote, I was like, well, I think this guy should just say no and should just stay in Denver for another year or two, which you do get every now and then. Davis Webb did that this last offseason. He told a couple teams no. He didn't want to move up and he pulled his name out of consideration, but won't happen forever. Zach Strief, Davis Webb, Jamar Cain, a couple other guys on the Broncos coaching staff. I would be surprised if the Broncos aren't having to replace at least 4 coaches this offseason just because of people are going to get plucked off of it.
And we already had 2 plucked off last season. Granted, one of them has already been relieved of their duties with the Detroit Lions losing or taking the, I can't remember the name, Morton, taking the play calling duties away from him out there in Detroit. But yeah, I think putting a bow on it, Eric, we'll have a lot of time to talk draft as well. The obvious big immediate need for this team is an offensive playmaker. I think they have to figure out. I mean, you need to raise the floor of the running back room. I still would throw money at Tyler Algier, but again, I'm biased there. I love his running style, no nonsense. You want the play action that Denver runs like the fourth most in the league to punch teams in the mouth. They're coming downhill on Tyler Algier. They have to. So that'd be getting some downfield stuff from under center if you can bring in that kind of option. And I think I'm with you. Why tight end has to? I would love to see a wide receiver as well, but I think wide receiver, it needs to be somewhat flashier. Like bringing in another wide receiver 3-4 doesn't do that much for me. So I think wide receiver, there's like a threshold that it has to cross. The final thing, Eric, outside of wide receiver, tight end, running back maybe, but outside of Love, I don't think there's a first round pick in this class. The draft for me is continuing to fortify strength and build your identity. The Broncos are where they are right now from a roster perspective, in my opinion, because they're the best two teams on the offensive line and defensive line combined across the league. It's never a bad idea to keep investing there. So I know that if you keep Powers, I think it's probably a harder pathway to talk about a first round pick on the offensive line. But like, if it guarantees that the unit can continue to be top 5, top 10, I don't honestly have an issue having somebody have a what do you want to call it? Like a orientation season, because injuries happen. You're getting older there. Bowles is going to be 34 or 35. McGlinchey's going to be 32. Miners has had health issues this season. Powers missed a lot of the season. Typically, you don't see that in a non-rotational position, but like if you love the guy and think he's a future plus starter specifically at tackle, but he could start at guard early on, no issue. Oh, you can't do that. He's not. They're doing it right now with Barron. He's very like spot playing right now. It's about the long-term vision. So offensive line, and then of course defensive line as well. I think edge is a harder sell personally, because you're 5 deep right now there, but maybe you trade a piece. I don't know. If somebody's screaming best player on the board and it's an edge rusher, I won't fight them on that. I mean, it's that valuable position. It's the identity of the team, the pass rush. And then of course, interior defensive line. The one position we didn't mention that makes some sense. I don't think cornerback or safety first round pick is the direction to go. Linebacker's still out there. It's a good linebacker class. Even if you bring back Singleton or Strnad, they're older. It'll probably be like a 2-year deal. Greenlaw's had injuries. Sanders has had injuries. I don't typically love first round pick at linebacker, but there are 3 in this class, 2 that are more functional as off-ball linebackers. Reese is not in my book, but Styles and Allen, I think they're first round linebackers. I know Hill and the Texas Tech guy gets some love as well. They're probably more pick 30 to 50 for me as I've seen them right now. But linebacker's the other one.
Yeah, I mean, with the offensive line, Sean Payton, well, you don't typically want to invest the first round pick at a non-rotational position. Sean Payton hasn't been averse of doing that before. It's not something he's done, often. But I think twice when he was with New Orleans, he drafted a first round pick on the offensive, spent a first round pick on the offensive line, and they sat for the year. So that's still an option. Interior defensive line, we talked about it. You can keep Malcolm Roach, you can keep John Frankenmeyers, then you can go sign a pick, add to that rotation there for it, and then potentially, move on from, because DJ Jones with his contract set up, it was 2 years and we'll see. Well, maybe you're looking at moving on from him after that, or Uwazurike can fill in for that, and the other guy can get some more playing time and buying time for Savion Jones. So there's a lot they can do in the trenches. That is definitely where the strength of this team has been on both sides of the ball. Definitely need to keep it up and keep that going for it together. We talked about wide receiver. We talked about tight end, running back. I'm with you at linebacker. I don't think we see Drew Sanders this season. I think there's a reason why there's absolutely nothing coming out about him. And one of those things is, if it wasn't for his injury, he wouldn't even be with the Broncos right now. He was going to be cut. Yeah. So the injuries just kept it around. They'll give him a shot next year, see what he can do, but I'm not betting money on it. So that's just where it sounds like that. But before we get out of here, I just want to grab this comment from Chris. It says, where am I going to put the new Death Star? Right there. So the Star Destroyer is going to get moved. The helmet's going to get moved. I have a shelf sitting behind the thing that's open. I just got to wait until December 25th to get it unwrapped and start putting it together.
Well, God bless you guys. I got the text that says we need to go. Nick, come down at 7:30 immediately, please. I just saw that. So we got to fly. Appreciate it. We didn't get into any of the names other than I guess I threw out Caden Proctor at some point, but even though he broke my heart. But, draft big, mean guys. That would be great. for the Broncos. But appreciate everybody coming in here. Friday morning, 6:30. God bless you, Eric. Denver, Luke. Of course, Grizz T. Good to see you. And of course, Coach Chris. $50. This keeps the lights on. Obviously, we're moving times, everything. Tell your friends, tell your family. Appreciate everyone. Follow Eric and I on Twitter. Eric is at Eric Trickle. I'm at Nick Kendall MHH. Also follow us at Mile High Huddle. We're over at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as that ticker says there underneath, subscribe, like, and share. Aloha from Patrick as well. I need to go get more coffee. Appreciate you, Eric. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the bye week. SEC has a lot of no games this week, so college football's a little bit lame. But, it's good. And yeah, we have Stephon Diggs chose the Patriots over the Broncos. Probably for the best, all things considered. But Denver's looking for weapons, it seems. Yep. So we'll see. Appreciate you, Eric. Shout out Dylan in the back. Have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you again on Monday. Go Broncos. Oh, and kindness and compassion. Boom. Bye.